It is the Albany Empire pregame show, a little bit different on this final weekend of the regular season. Why do we say it's a little bit different? Well, you don't see team president Jeff Levack as we lead this off. He is under the weather today. It's the Albany Empire broadcast team. Tom Goslowski with you, Andrew Santillo on your right if you're watching on our visual side. We've got Ryan McCarthy coming up who covers the team for Godzilla Media. We've got Zach Keilman from Inside the Walls. All those people coming up first. But before we get to Andrew Santillo to preview this upcoming game, we want to tell you about the people that make this show possible. We're talking about Mohawk Honda. Selection is king this summer at Mohawk Honda. If you're looking to trade in your vehicle, you're looking to stop in and find out exactly what type of car you want. Think about this. The car you bought before, you can actually trade it in for maybe the same exact price you paid for it years ago. That's the deal going on at Mohawk Honda right now. Glenville, New York. Say what's up to Greg Johnson, Cam McKenna, Brian McKenna, Lindsey Harden, all the fantastic people that are at Mohawk Honda, wherever you're watching this from East Greenbush to Glenville to Saratoga, anywhere. If you're an Albany Empire fan, we tell you please go out, continue to support Mohawk Honda and Mohawk Chevrolet. Shout out to them as well in Malta, proud sponsors of the First Down during Empire home games. The Mohawk Honda family, Mohawk Chevrolet, where they always go out of their way to please you. All right, Andrew Santillo. Before we preview this game, let's recap a little bit. Last game, battle between the Empire and the Orlando Predators. You and I in that broadcast kind of felt the same way. That second half in that first half felt like two completely different games for both teams, both Albany and Orlando.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it was a 41-40 game at halftime, basically a shootout. You're thinking last team with the ball maybe wins the game. And then, Coach Manas went in there. They made a few adjustments, tightened up on defense and didn't allow, allowed one, I think, offensive touchdown in the second half, but it was like very late in the game. Orlando only scored 2 touchdowns. They had the one defensive touchdown in the second half. Albany kept running with the offense. And it leads to the 74-53 victory. A convincing win. It's what Albany needed to do. They thought if they could win 2 games and get some help, they would put themselves in the position to be the top seed and host throughout the playoffs. Which, as the defending champs, that was the goal. That's what they're looking to accomplish. And another, add another check mark, to the list for Coach Manas because they come into the final week here. The last week of the regular season with all the scenarios, it can get pretty wild between the 4 playoff teams, jockeying for those 4 spots. But Coach Manas knows and the Albany Empire know and their fan base knows if they win, they'll be hosting until they lose. So they win today against San Antonio, they'll host the semifinal game. If they win that game, they would host the championship.
Simple and easy as that. Win today, you're the top seed. You win the regular season, which is a bragging right in its own right. You get the best overall win percentage. I got to make sure I catch myself there. Win percentage of the teams this season in the NAL. Especially I don't know if it's conditioning. I don't know if it's just roster setup. There's been that theme all season long, and this goes all the way back to April, of how the Empire roster is constructed in comparison to the teams that we've seen come to MVP Arena this season. It feels like Albany's got a second gear every single time in the third and fourth quarter, and especially the defense, because they've been shutting teams down in that second half.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've certainly gone in and made adjustments. I think that's what Coach Manas does. I mean, this isn't, when you talk about the arena football, you come out, the first team comes down the field and scores a touchdown. If you're playing, Division I college football or NFL football, you're watching your team on Sunday, the opposing team gets the ball and drives right down the field and score. You're thinking, oh God, this is going to be a long day. But arena football, there's going to be 10, 15, 20 touchdowns in a game. So, I think Coach Manas does a good job of letting the other team show what it's got to offer in the first half, then at halftime kind of making some adjustments on both sides of the football, and then coming out and as you said, guys, I mean, the second halves have been, where they've kind of pulled away from teams. I mean, they've been a lot of close first halves, especially at home, and then they've been able to pull away. And that I think that's the sign of a good team. And we have to remember, this Albany team, they lost their first game of the year. I mean, they come in defending champs, home game. They lost their first game of the year. They had a 3-game losing streak kind of in the middle of the year. And here they are 7-4, and they have a chance to win the regular season title for the second year in a row in this league and go in and defend their championship. So, I mean, I think not enough good things can be said about Coach Manas and what he's been able to do with his coaching staff and the players and getting them ready. And like you said, it's not about, where you are in April and May. It's where you are in July and August that's really going to tell the tale of how this season played out.
And it's a true advantage. I know sometimes in professional sports, the home field, the home court, the home ice, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to playoff time, hey, eventually talent will take over. And if you're a good enough team, you can go on the road and win. But in a single elimination semifinal and final, which is the NAL set up for, having that home field advantage, especially with the Albany crowd, it is a significantly big deal. And I know it's like 1-2. Albany's more than likely how this weekend wraps is going to be a home playoff team. But that top seed, because as you mentioned, that 3-game losing streak happens in the middle of the season. Any advantage that Albany can get truly matters, and especially in a league like this when you can have a home field advantage like we've seen this season with the Empire crowd.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you talk about, just with the recent history here with the team as they've participated in the National Arena League, they're 3-2 this year at home. Both of those losses were to Carolina, and they were both, I think, 8-point losses. If you go back a year ago, the team finished 7-1 in the regular season, won 2 games in the playoffs. So they didn't lose a game at home last year, and they've lost twice this year, but both of those games were very early. I mean, you're talking April and May. So those games are long ago. So you're talking about playing in front of the crowd. And then when you talk about pushing the chips to the center of the table here, when you're talking about playoffs, you're going to get more fans out there. You're talking about a semifinal game. I mean, more fans are going to come out and support this team. And so, it really is an advantage. And when you talk about playing in a league like this, it's important to the teams as well, because they want to host these games because they want to put fans in the crowd and they want to sell those tickets for the championship game. So that, this is important. I mean, as much as Albany would, if you ask Coach Manas, listen, you're going to be the 2 seed, but you'll be in the championship game, he'd say, okay, let's do it. But if you said, listen, you're going to be the 1 seed and you're going to be able to put your own fans in the crowd, paying customers in the crowd to host this championship game, he would obviously be like, obviously I want the 1 seed because we want our crowd. We don't want to have to travel. We've heard, we've well documented, and I know you have the travel issues when you're traveling with, 20, 30, 40 people trying to get to one airport, different airplanes at 1 o'clock, show up at the airport. So traveling is something that you want to certainly avoid, especially because there's delays just for the common traveler this time of year at airports. So, you want to avoid traveling and you want to play in your home stadium the rest of the way here.
Albany Empire pregame show, 3:30 right now. We're rolling with this. Coming up at 7 o'clock, Andrew and I will be live from MVP Arena, bringing you the call as the Empire hosts the San Antonio Gunslingers. We're going to preview the Gunslingers, what stands out to us, what we think overall with this franchise has done in its rookie season, its debut. But before we get to the San Antonio Gunslingers, I think we at least have to touch on what happened in the NAL last week, because, and especially from our perspective, because you and I have 3 games going at once. The game, of course, we're calling. Then we have 2 windows open on YouTube. And I'm not going to blame anybody, but the stats that were being fed to us from another game did not list Tommy Grady playing. Although Tommy Grady did play, and he got hurt during the game. So the status of what Tommy Grady could be is surprising to us 24 hours after the game. Like, whoa, let's not – we're not watching the game. We're seeing the stats come in. But to hear that Grady got hurt and the Carolina performance, losing effort with some of those additions, had just not the impact we thought, which is nice and easy as that. No matter what the seeding is, it feels as if Albany is now no doubt going to be the favorite heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you look at Carolina, and it's a perfect example here. We're talking about 7-4 Albany looking to ride a winning streak into the postseason. I mean, Carolina was as hot can be. I mean, they were the team. I mean, they had beaten Albany 3 times, and it looked like they're going to be the number 1 seed, without a doubt. I mean, it was basically almost mathematically written. And then Jonathan Bain gets injured, and it just like that, you're trying to fill in a quarterback who was basically having an MVP caliber season for the Cobras. So all of a sudden now they're trying to plug and play here with the quarterback. Now they're trying to make some roster additions late as the postseason is right here on the doorstep. So I would agree with you. I mean, I think Albany goes in, even if they're not the 1 seed, I think as the defending champions, I think they're the team to beat, right? You're the champs until someone takes it away from you. So I think they would be the favorite, and especially if they win and they're the number 1 seed trying to defend their title at home.
Let's get into the San Antonio Gunslingers, a team we've seen from different spots, but I've been told, by the way, a little surprise for you, the San Antonio crew is coming to Albany. So the broadcast team allegedly is going to be like a few rows behind us. So this is our first time, I think, in 2 years, we're going to have conflicting broadcast teams. Who knows? Maybe at one point we'll put the cowboy hat on. We'll hop on the San Antonio. I don't think that's going to happen. But watching this team, what stands out to you as you prep for the call later this evening?
Sure. So, this is their first season, right? Inaugural season for the Gunslingers. They joined the league. Got off to a rough start in terms of wins and losses. 0-5 to start the year. But if you look as of late, they are one of the hottest teams, including beating Albany, although they've split the 2 season meetings, but including a win down at San Antonio against the Empire. So they've won 4 of their last 6 games. They're not going to the playoffs, but they've got a quarterback in Robert Kent who leads the league in passing yards. He's over 2,000 passing yards, close to 2,300 passing yards, 58 touchdowns. So, I mean, they've put up offensive numbers. So this is a Gunslingers team that is going to come in, obviously in leagues like this, you're not going to the postseason. This is going to be the last game. So it'll be interesting to see. It's on the road. So, is everybody here? Are they all bought in for the last week when you don't have a playoff? You're not fighting for a playoff spot. But when you look at them on paper, they've been one of the hottest teams in the league over the last month, and they've got a quarterback who can sling it. I mean, he can throw the ball all over the field. And so it's been a good addition, I think, to the league to have a team from Texas. So you're kind of branching out across the United States. I know it's been a tough travel destination for the Empire when the 2 times they've had to go down there so far this season. It's been a little challenging. It's the furthest road trip of the league, the way that obviously the map is laid out. But I think, having them come here, we haven't seen them play. This is their inaugural season, so the first trip to Albany. So I'm excited to see what they have to offer. And it should be, I'm expecting a good game. Again, San Antonio's played these two games have been really close. So I expect nothing different the third time around.
And especially with a team that has just 1 week left in the regular season, they still do have things to play for. Like this San Antonio organization and this franchise is going to be looking to say who's going to be a part of our 2023 roster. We've seen it happen before where if you play good in one city, everybody becomes a free agent the following season. Albany, Carolina, Columbus can look at some of the players who stood out and said, hey, we want to bring those guys over to our franchise for 2023. So it's an audition every single week, whether it's July, whether it's May. That stuff still really does matter for everybody going forward and anybody who can make some contributions on the field today. I think you and I are kind of in the same window on this, but I still have to ask it. If Albany gets a lead in the second half, so let's say it's 14 points, 20 points, I don't know if Coach Manas is going to pull back. Like I just haven't seen any signs of that. I know that was a storyline post-bye week of Trevon Shorts if his carries were going to get limited. It doesn't seem like pull back the horses, I guess, pun intended here with the Texas team coming in. That I just don't see that as a second half storyline unless you see something that maybe could potentially have the Empire prep for next week's semifinal game.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of, and I tend to agree with you, is that if they have things, that they're looking to, keep under wraps, you know what I mean? Not display everything, not tip their hand, if you will. For if this game were to get out of hand, I could see them maybe keeping some things, up their sleeve, so to speak, for the semifinal game, and not, maybe running some things we haven't seen to make, put some things on tape that maybe another team will have to plan for next week. But you're right, I don't see them. I think Coach Manas realizes that. Every other team comes in here, they're the defending champs. They want to, San Antonio's 4-7. If they come in here and beat the defending champs, that's a great way to end the season. So I think he sees that everybody, I think when Albany loses, I think Coach Manas thinks everybody else gets a little joy around the league. So I think he knows that everybody's looking at the scoreboard, and I think he wants to make sure that his team plays a full 4 quarters.
I want to give some love to Norris because I know Norris just dropped the second time. Markel Wade fitting the ball out today. Markel Wade's awesome.
Yeah.
Look, he wants some feedback on Markel Wade. Andrew Santillo, I feel like Markel Wade, we've nicknamed him the secret weapon this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who got added, mid-season. Kind of came onto the scene. When Antoine Grant went down, we were thinking, who's going to be that number 2 receiver? That complement to Darius Prince. And Markel Wade has been phenomenal. I mean, he's even got a couple of interceptions defensively. So he has certainly played really, really well. I mean, he's got 13 tackles, I think, on defense. He's put up offensive numbers. I mean, he has really done a nice job. 31 catches, 6 receiving touchdowns. So he's a guy who, has really made an impact, since he's been added to the team in mid-May.
Also, happy birthday to Andrew Santillo. His birthday was yesterday. He does not look a day over 22 years old. So please send in those comments via social media wishing Andrew a very happy birthday. I will surprise you now and tell you there will not be a cake brought up during the broadcast at all.
Okay.
There's no type of balloons. I've done nothing. I'm not a good partner. I should have done that during the Bo, our producer's got enough to deal with than me trying to find some
that's true.
nonsense.
That's right. I had plenty of cake and we enjoyed the birthday yesterday. So
okay,
I'm glad we got that out of the way. And now we're fixing on the regular season finale here.
Awesome. Well, I will catch you in a few hours. Thank you for doing this. Looking forward to the call as always. And I'll catch you at 7:00.
Yeah. We'll see you down at the arena.
All right. There he goes. Andrew Santillo, Albany Empire broadcaster, joining us here on the Albany Empire pregame show. We've got more guests on the way. Ryan McCarthy is going to join us, covers the team for Goslowski Media. Zach Keilman joins us for Inside the Walls podcast. But before we get to all that, we want to give love to the people that make this show possible. Look at this. If you're watching on our visual side, hey, see that logo right above my left shoulder? That's Lily and David Fine Jewelers, located on Route 50, the shops of Wilton. If you're looking to buy a ring this upcoming summer, the spot to do it is right there, Lily and David Fine Jewelers. I know from experience because there is my ring right there. Stopped in, said what's up to Alyssa and David, and they helped me through the process of finding that engagement ring for my now wife 5 years ago. Think about that. It's a 5-year relationship. Not with my wife. We went a little bit further back than that, but with Alyssa and David, the crew at Lily and David Fine Jewelers. So guys, if it's wedding season for you, and you're going to walk in with a girlfriend, the pressure is going to come to make that girlfriend the fiance and soon to be wife. If you're looking to make one of those big purchases in your life, one of the biggest, Lily and David, family owned and operated business, Route 50, the shops of Wilton, can help you make that purchase today. Stop in, say hello. Tell them you heard about it from guys from the Albany Empire pregame show. To Lily and David Fine Jewelers, Route 50, the shops of Wilton. So as Andrew said, the playoffs are basically set at this point, right? We've got the 4 teams that we know are going to be in the playoffs. The Albany Empire are going to be in. The Jacksonville Sharks are going to be in. The Columbus Lions are going to be in. And the Carolina Cobras are going to be in. So we've got 4 teams we definitely know are going to be a part of the upcoming playoffs. Today, simple and easy, the Albany Empire can make that happen. The Albany Empire can become the top seed in the upcoming playoffs with a victory today. All that could happen. It's amazing to think about where this Empire season has gone, where it seemed as if this team could be, at times, the furthest thing from a home team advantage squad, losing some games mid-season. There was even a scenario back in late May and early June of whether or not Albany was actually going to be a playoff team. Things changed. Certain scenarios have happened now where Albany is in a great spot going forward for the remainder of the regular season, just 1 game left, and that postseason run to defend their championships with our shields. All of those things can happen with Albany coming up. I want to give love to our guy, Trevon Shorts, because last time during the Albany Empire pregame show, some people might have missed the conversation we had with Trevon Shorts. The running back now for the Empire is making some big plays and more. We want to share our conversation with Trevon Shorts, who joined us on the most recent Albany Empire pregame show. So if you missed that, we're going to share our conversation again with Trevon Shorts. Plus, again, Ryan McCarthy coming up and Zach Keilman all on the way next. But before we get to those guys, let's give love to our guy, Trevon Shorts, who joined us and shared his take on the upcoming Albany Empire playoff run and more. Trevon Shorts here with you.
Yeah, we're just focused about what we got to do this weekend. We know if we win this game, then we win out, and if stuff fall in place, we could get first place. But our focus right now is Orlando.
Take us through the bye week. So many different people do different things when you have that time away from football. What did you do during the bye week?
Oh, I got to go back home. I'm from Washington, D.C., so went back home, chill with the family, watched the fireworks, got some home cooking, really stayed off my feet, really chill with my dog.
So you did a real bye week. There's some guys who talk about taking a bye week. You legit were like, football off the brain. I need this recharge, so I'm ready to go for the stretch run.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. So my last game in San Antonio, I had played both ways the whole game, and I was kind of winded. So when I went home, I've been working out twice a day. But even then, it's still more so just running agility drills, getting my feet right.
I've been asking guys like this. Your teammate Dwayne Hollis, who's seen stuff like this before, and others taking a Brandon Cisse, who's a veteran in this league, and others about taking care of that body. And it's almost been a theme for even before the season. Like, when we hit July and August, your body's going to feel a lot different than all of a sudden April. Do you got any tricks, something that you've been doing? Like, okay, I know my body's going to be feeling good if I continue to do this and stay healthy.
I actually stay off my feet a lot.
Okay.
So other than practice in the morning and my little workouts at night, I really just chill in the room, chill in my bed. I don't really do too much. Try to stay off my feet because the smallest things could tweak anything. So I try to stay relaxed, just calm, cool, level-headed for real.
We hear sometimes that if you're a fantasy football player, you hear this term with coaches like limit touches, limit what's going to happen. I feel like it's different for you because you were such an impact player on the field, and I know you're playing both ways and doing all these things. We have not had a discussion yet of them. I'm talking the coaching staff limiting your carries for the rest of July, right?
No. Well,
okay, good.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to keep running the ball as hard as I can. It's up to them. They give me the ball, I'm going to do the best I can with it.
See, I bring that up because I know your coach, Coach Jay Rich, has been in a similar spot in his career like you have. He's been able to play defensive, have an impact, offense, have an impact. And I know when I let off this conversation talking about one of the best games ever by a running back in history of the Empire, his eyes might have lit up and be like, I played for the team, right? Like, I got in the end zone a few times here and there. Has Coach Jay Rich given you any advice throughout the season of how you can continue to have the types of plays like you've had so far?
Oh, most definitely. He gives me tips all the time. Like, he'll send me clips. We done definitely sat down and watched some of his old clips from when he played with Philly Soul against Albany and when he played with Albany and showed me his do's and don'ts. So he showed me plays where he did good and it's the proper steps and how we're supposed to do it. And he showed me plays what happened when he don't do the proper steps and he missed the block or ended up not hitting that touchdown or something like that. So
he's the man.
Yeah, he's definitely a good guy.
He is. Coach Jay Rich, we love him. We appreciate him. All right, we love to end these conversations on the pregame show, giving you the opportunity to tell the Capital Region sports fans, the fans here in Albany, New York, why this Saturday night at 7 o'clock, they got to come out to the MVP Arena to support you guys. Tell them why they got to be a part of the big party on Saturday night to watch you and your teammates take the field.
Oh, yeah, this definitely should be one of the most exciting games of the year and one of the most packed games of the year. I've been really excited. I've been going around town this week. I've been helping out with the high school. I've been working some camps, so I know I got a good little crowd coming to the game this week. So, and I've been feeling good. I'm feeling fresh. I don't feel like how you were talking about the end of the season injuries. Like I'm feeling good. Like I'm 100% fresh as a daisy, like ready to go. I'm excited for these last few games.
You know what? I told you that was going to be the last question. You gave me a follow-up, though. So are we hearing about potentially coaching in the future for you? Like what do they call you? Coach Shorts? What's going on now? I like hearing the story.
Yeah, so I've been working out with I've been actually running this camp. And one of the coaches from the camp coach at Albany High. And I've been talking to them. So you might see me out there in the coaching staff. I don't know yet. I might step out there with Albany High this year. They got a good little program. It's looking nice out there.
Okay, so we got a little bit of breaking news here. Maybe Albany High, Trevon Shorts, September, October, if all of a sudden the TV cameras start going on the sidelines and they're looking for you, we're going to know why, because an Albany Empire player and the tips and everything he's learned at the professional level is coming to the 518 in the Capital Region Section 2
all those good things. Trevon Shorts, you can see him carrying the football Saturday coming up, 7 o'clock kickoff set at the MVP Arena. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate you doing this, and best of luck this Saturday.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Game show continues to roll on here. Before we bring in our guest, Ryan McCarthy, we want to tell you about the people that make this show possible. Like our friends over at Johnstone Supply in Troy, it is getting hot in upstate New York. It's getting hot in the capital region. Now it's your time to get a new AC unit. Stop over to 6th Avenue in Troy, and that is the home of Johnstone Supply in Troy. They've been helping the capital region for years. Now they can help you find that new AC unit, that air conditioning, through Fujitsu, Ductless, Spitz, the John Goodman AC unit. All right, yeah. Shout out to our guy Tom for giving that to us. George and Kevin, James, and everybody over there. Fish, shout out to him as well. You call and say, hey, I heard about it on the Albany Empire pregame show. We heard about it from Levack and Gonzalo Media. Johnstone Supply in Troy, 6th Avenue in Troy. Check them out on Facebook as well. If you're watching us on Facebook, just head over to Johnstone Supply NY. Give them a like, leave them a comment. Say, hey, we heard about you from the Albany Empire. We'll appreciate that as well. Trust us. Whatever it might be in your home that you're looking to change, Johnstone Supply in Troy can do that. Give them a call today, 518-272-5922. 518-272-5922. That is Johnstone Supply in Troy. Proud sponsor of the Albany Empire pregame show. Here's a guy that we love. He follows the team. He does that dance, which I believe was riding a motorcycle.
I do it poorly, but I try.
I'm trying to remember what that dance was.
I don't know what it's called, but I think it's called the scooter.
The scooter.
That's what I call it. I call it the scooter.
Oh man, hopefully someone younger than us can remember the name of that. It was Soulja Boy. I think it was a Soulja Boy dance you were doing there. Sure. He is Ryan McCarthy, Godzilla Media, covers the NAL, host of the No Credentials Required podcast, and all those great things. Ryan, I'm kind of giving you the stage here of kind of like recapping what we've seen in the regular season from the Albany Empire, going back from May to where we stand now for the Empire, a win away from clinching the home turf. I'm going to call it now the home turf advantage coming up. Oh, how have you seen this team evolve from game one of the season inside MVP Arena to the team we're about to watch hours from now kick off for a chance to win a regular season championship?
I will just say that adversity is their friend. They went through some peaks and valleys, and they're starting to get to the peak. And it seemed like every time after an Empire win this season at home, when I talked to Coach Manas, someone would ask, have we seen Albany Empire football yet? And he says, we're not there yet. And now we're at game, 12 this season, the home closer. And I think we're just on the cusp of seeing the Albany Empire, like true Albany Empire football, of what had the potential to be throughout this year. And I think we're just about to see it. We're just about to see it coming through as we come into the playoffs, as the Empire looking to clinch home field or home turf for the rest of the season. I think we're just about to see true Empire football coming out. We saw it last week in Orlando. If you were at the MVP Arena, if you watched it on YouTube, I think you're starting to see what this team is really all about. And I think it's going to be a special team once the playoffs hit.
Oh, we can talk a little bit about the stuff that's happened beyond Albany in a few minutes. I might use that for our guys. Zach Keilman, you know, from Inside the Walls. He's coming up. I know he's hanging out on hold right now. We will get to Zach in a few. But first, let's talk about Sam Castronova. That has been my favorite storyline of the season. I know that feels like a low-hanging fruit storyline. Oh, guys, you think the quarterback's interesting. That's very good of you. Wow, welcome to football. But Castronova's story is so good. From starting on the bench to then playing fantastic to then getting benched. And as we sit here in the final week of the regular season, he's in the conversation for the MVP of the league. Mm-hmm. Sam Castronova's story seems so unique to any Albany Empire player we've seen over the past 4 years in the franchise.
Yeah, his story is just tremendous. I mean, I remember him last year playing with Carolina, and he was absolutely he didn't look like he did this year. Like there's two different quarterbacks. They're two different quarterbacks. I don't think he played the entire season with the Cobras. I think he was replaced by another quarterback just around the time the playoffs started. But this year has been a tremendous turnaround for Sam Castronova. You're seeing him kind of grow into this guy who's back, as you mentioned, guys. He was a backup to start the season. Mike Faithful was the starter this year, and all of a sudden, Castronova's kind of being pushed into the limelight, and he's running with it, literally and figuratively, with his legs, with his arm. It's been a special season for one slaying Sam Castronova, the supernova, as our friend Levack calls him. But I think he's definitely in contention for that MVP most valuable player spot in the Arena Football League. He's certainly in contention for offensive player of the year for sure. As for MVP, I definitely put him in the conversation with the year he's had. So just to see him from bench warmer to starter and now potentially being MVP, it's been special to see what he's been doing throughout the course of the year. And you hear him talk about his guys, you got Prince, the wide receivers he has, all the experience he has with Prince and Hollis, and now Aaron Washa as well, who was also an Arena Football alum. To hear him talk about them in such a grand light just shows you how much he's grown as a player, and hopefully he wins MVP, and hopefully he's in consideration for at least Offensive Player of the Year for sure.
So this question I'm about to ask, I couldn't ask Andrew Santillo of the broadcast team because YouTube comments would just litter the entire broadcast of, is there a preferred opponent?
Guys, never look at the comments section. Just never. Just. All
right. I will.
I'm just kidding.
It's a scary place on YouTube.
It's a very scary place.
Don't forget sometimes. if you don't like this answer by Ryan, his Twitter again is @whoisRyanMCC.
It's right there.
You can
come
send
find
those nasty YouTube comments. Okay, so what team, if you're an Empire fan, are you rooting to see in that first round playoff matchup?
Carolina.
Really? Why is
Carolina? Because they've been skunked by them all season. And every game has been a one possession game. It's a one score game. Every game, you look at the score line, it's close. They lost by 8, then they lose by I think lost by 6 in the next game. Then they lose by a field goal at Carolina. You're 0-3 against Carolina this season. You want Carolina to not only lose out, but you also want them to you want to face them. You want a piece of them. This is a team that you haven't beaten all season long. And if in the back of your head, that's gnawing at you if you're a player. If you haven't beaten a team all year long, it's just in the back of your head. It's just, come on, we want them. We're so good. We're so close to being the team we are. We're such a different team than we were 6 weeks ago when we last played them. I want a piece of them again. We can beat these guys. That's if I'm an Empire player, that's who I want. I want Carolina.
It's a fantastic answer. I guess my initial instincts to that answer was, you as an Albany supporter, we'll call it, a person who covers the team, want to see some of these former Empire players return to MVP Arena because that's a great storyline. Now, I know Tommy Grady got hurt and there's others there, but there is something to that story that if it ends up being Carolina and whoever it might be, whether it be Malachi Jones or Joe Hills or whoever taking the field, that's the storyline in itself. And if we flip across the league now, like that's now become the biggest storyline of the league. With no disrespect to Mason Espinosa, that's going to be talked about coming up here in a little bit that he's back. But the signings of the Empire players who are now Carolina Cobras and an injury has completely shaken up the league again for 3 weeks in a row. Something huge has happened. And now we stand with this. And that would have been a huge part of this Carolina matchup if it happens in the semis.
Yeah. And this Albany Empire defensive backfield is miles away from what they have been from the start of the season back in April. Kenny Veal and now Marvin Ross have solidified that defensive backfield, and it's showing. They've got Marvin Ross had a pick 6 last week, and Veal had a pick 6 against Carolina the last time they played Carolina in MVP Arena. Having those two guys in their defensive backfield going up against Titans like Malachi Jones and Joe Hills potentially it's going to be such a good story. It's the championship before the championship game, which would be so awesome. And I would love to see that. Of course, that narrative of ex-Empire guys coming to play in Albany again is a huge thing, but those guys have only 2 weeks under their belt before they come to Albany and play in Albany again. So you kind of wonder what kind of game shape they're in. Obviously, with all due respect to Malachi Jones, I know him personally. He's always going to be in play. He's always going to be playing shape. Always going to be in playing shape. I don't know what Joe Hills looks like since 2019 was the last time he played in an arena league. So, and of course, Tommy Grady, one of the greatest arena quarterbacks of all time. I don't know what kind of condition he's in for a potential matchup against the Empire, but it'll be so fascinating just to see what Carolina can put up in front of Albany and what Albany can take. And I think with Veal and with Hollis in the backfield and Marvin Ross, this team is going to be a completely different land. It's going to be a completely different game than what it has been the first 3 games of the season against Carolina.
Now, if you're looking for Ryan McCarthy behind the boards, he is not behind the boards today. He is not sick like our pal Jeff Levack. He is fine. He had a prior engagement, so you will not see him today. But give us a prediction before you go. I know you got to head off quick. Give us a little prediction of what you think is going to happen in this matchup between the Empire and the Gunslingers this evening. San Antonio. They're such for a team that with the record they have, they're scrappy. They're gonna punch you. They're gonna punch them in the face. They're gonna come right back at you with a punch in the face too. So I expect a close game at least for the first 3 quarters. But I think Albany, with all the experience they have and what they've been through this year, and these guys play for each other. I don't know if you've noticed on the field. I've been at field level. These guys love absolutely. It's ELE. Everybody love everybody. The Jackie Moon phrase, ELE. Everybody love everybody. Everybody in this team loves everybody, and they play for each other. So I think it'll be close for the first 3 quarters, and I think Albany pulls it at the end. And they grab home turf. There he goes, Ryan McCarthy. No credentials required. Give the
and there's my Twitter handle at whoisRyanMCC. Come at me.
There you go. Be nice to him. All right, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go, Ryan. We got Zach Keilman coming up. But before we get to Zach, we want to tell you about the people that make this show possible, like Northeastern Insurance. Jared Lozier, proud sponsor. Gonzo, let me do a huge Albany Empire supporter as well. Look, if you're looking to save some cash this summer, you got the summer road trip coming, the summer vacation. Maybe you just love playing fantasy football. Maybe you just want to play on DraftKings. By the way, promo code 518. We'll have more about that in the upcoming football season. You need to have that expendable income now with inflation and everything else. Save on the insurance policies that you have. Just call them up for a free quote. Hey, I heard about it from Godzilla Media. I heard about it from Levack Guys. Jared, can you give me a free quote? Northeastern Insurance can do it for you. Email him today, JAREDL@nemail.com. JAREDL@nemail.com. Or give him a call or text him. You're watching the show, just shoot him a text on your phone. 518-956-3753. 518-956-3753. That is Jared Lozier's number. Say, where are you at the Empire game? Can I buy you a beer? You can do all those things and save yourself some cash with Northeastern Insurance. Jared Lozier, insurance policies, your car, your home, your small business, what's important to you, he can save you cash. Jared Lozier, Northeastern Insurance. He's been waiting patiently. There he is. It's been too long, my friend. Zach Keilman, Inside the Walls podcast. Thank you for doing this. I gave probably the shortest notice of anybody in the last year and a half of Goslowski Media. I hit you with a DM and said, things have changed in the pregame show. Levack is not feeling well. I'm coming back from vacation, and you were nice enough to answer the call. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate you. How have you been, by the way? Let's before we get to the questions, how is life at Inside the Walls? It feels like we haven't talked in forever.
Well, I'm glad to be on the show. You know, it's short notice, but it happens. You know, we also unfortunately do have short notice things sometimes, and players we appreciate a bunch for that, including Darius Prince recently, who came on. I didn't get to talk to him, unfortunately. I was on vacation in Ireland. But that's what's been going on for me. Catching up this week, getting back in the saddle. I want to make sure I'm up to speed, of course, with the playoffs, which I did. For being on a trip, I made as much time as possible to keep up with these games. I could not miss any time watching them. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a ride for the last 10 days, but I'm good. Doing good.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm going to kind of give you that same question I just gave Ryan because it's this final week of the regular season before we look towards the playoffs and put a bow on the regular season. We should look back, and whether it's back to April and May, what has been the storyline, whether it be one or two storylines of this regular season, team, coach, player, moment? What has stood out to you about this regular season of the NAL in 2022?
Well, I think you got a few things that are in the NAL, and I kind of from last year, this is a borrowed one to me. It's just kind of how rosters evolve over time. Free agency market in the National Arena League is just nuts in its own right. And I mean, you know, I know what happens in the NFL and other leagues. We see movement, but with the NAL being at the level it is, movement comes and it will come in waves or droves at times. So I think just seeing some of the signings that have come up during the season, like for example, for the Empire, you know, having like Aaron Washer or like Marvin Ross, those were mid-season signings that were very impactful. I think, watching the Cobras, how they've had to evolve and change, especially with Jonathan Bain being out here in recent weeks. I also think like the Jacksonville Sharks, who have made some of the most crucial moves for themselves to place them in the position that they are as a playoff team. That doesn't come without free agency and kind of learning on the fly. And I think the other storyline is how teams are adapting to Iron Man being back. It's felt like that, some of the early season jitters of the substitution referees, the substitutions and making sure that they are accurately being done, and that some of the players in positions are being done to where you aren't going to be, kind of left out in the cold. For example, quarterback being one. If you have two injuries of that, who's your third? I think those have been tested and experimented with a lot. Linemen as well, by the way. I remember Zach Brown having to step in a tackle at the end of a half earlier this year, which, he can block. He's big enough to do so, but it's just kind of one of those things. Iron Man, we're still getting used to seeing it reintroduced again. It's been some time away since it was been in this game, but I think we're finally comfortable with it. I think that was a challenge for it. My third story, I guess, if I have to add a third one, would probably be the ball. Just seeing how that process has gone. It's no secret anymore. The tan ball and the white ball are completely different in kicking. I know some of us played coy with it earlier in the year, but the truth is that's what it is now. So, for quite frankly, if you can tell, kicks are a little different with the white ball. And maybe we'll be adjusting at the end of the year going into next year. But it's obviously a strategy for deuces, and things are different. And with teams having reduced amount of balls, especially the tan ones that have the much more of an impact, that's something that affects not only the games, but of course the playoffs in general. Your special teams, completely different story than last year. A lot less scoring off of just kickoffs, and even some field goals being affected too.
I'm glad you didn't bring up the officials, because I'm fatigued with that storyline. I'm sure you and Jim
am too.
Right? Everything else you brought up can be fixed or kept the same if it feels like it's the benefit for the league or a negative for the league. You sit down with owners, like whoever it is, says, okay, this was good. You can't do anything about the officials. So I just tossed it out there. Like, can we just stop? Is I guess my question. Like, because I know it's a storyline every week, but there's no point of constantly going. It's going to drive guys like you and I who cover the league insane if we do it every single Monday, Tuesday, whenever you do the recaps.
Right. And I'll be honest with you guys. I had a nice sit down with Joe Clarkson, who heads officiating with the NAL. It's a tough spot, especially the NAL being arena football, that is, being a niche sport as it is. Remember, you're getting guys that are used to outdoor football, which is, it's no secret, it's the majority of the game that we play, so having guys, not all of them used to, or not all of them being, as I would say, expertise automatically, having to, as you say, flip a different hat all the time, it does affect it. That is getting better. And and that talk I had with him, I think it was now 3 weeks ago, I had a conversation about an hour and a half with him. There's already things that are mechanisms in place the league's looking into next year to adapt that. So I've kind of started moving away, because I also think that, some of the stresses of this year are going to get addressed. It's just that simple. I know certain coaches, players, I get it, but I mean, we all are learning on the fly. And I think that, things will be addressed. Like I said, Joe made it very clear that there are some things that they want to just go into the off season and adjust, but I think that they have solid crews leading into the playoffs that I don't think it'll be a discussion point. I hope it's not. I really don't want to talk about it more on the show, because me and Jim already had our own little side rant, and that's what led to the conversation with Joe a little bit. But I don't want to talk about it as much. I hope that's not the case. And I don't think it will be. I really don't.
I'm happy to hear that. That's good stuff. Talk about actual football play is good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the four playoff teams: Albany,
yes,
Jacksonville, Columbus, Carolina. Taking a step back from a league perspective, what is the best semifinal round? What can it look like? This team versus this team versus this team is the best for the league if it's what?
If you just want me to give me my favorite matchups, like if I wanted to see this,
yes.
Well, I'll tell you, because honestly, I really want another Columbus-Jacksonville matchup. They did have that one clunker in Jacksonville earlier this year. but the two games that were in Columbus were at least really high quality and explosive games. The beginning of the season ended in overtime out there in Columbus, and that adding in the fact that Arvell Nelson versus Mason Espinoza is a matchup on paper I want in terms of QBs. Arvell being, of course, an Arena Bowl MVP himself, and Mason Espinoza, what else can you say? Guy has so many accolades in the NAL at this point. The fact that he's able to return to play in the game again this late in the season. Ooh, the drama, I tell you, it just adds a little bit. I want that matchup. And then quite frankly, the Cobras and Empire, that would leave the other one. I want to watch that because how much can Coach Resignalo get this roster adjusted to play Albany, who has been getting, to me, overall better as the season's gone on. And a lot of that comes down to, his former quarterback, Sam Castronova, on the opposite side, who, I'll be frank, I didn't see this performance coming out of him this year, but I got to give props to the Empire, and especially Damon Ware, for getting that offense set up to where Sam can succeed in it. He can move out of the pocket. He can be mobile. He can deliver dimes on the fly to some of these receivers. I want to see the Empire get, that fourth match. And quite frankly, to me, Malik Henry getting another shot to prove people that maybe he can step up to the plate. Because I know people in Jacksonville, no offense, but some people in Jacksonville, they saw what he's capable of. He's very boom or bust, in my opinion. And I think that he is capable of going off. So if you get him on a hot night, that could be leading for some sparks. And we're talking like something like how Columbus and San Antonio 2 weeks ago were dropping 70 points each. I think that's capable if you get Malik Henry on a hot night like that. And defensively, I think these two teams match up pretty well to where it's going to come down to whoever makes the most plays, at least gets one or two turnovers, or switches up the possession game on a 4-and-out. But that's kind of how I want it. I think Columbus and Jacksonville, to me, is the one I want to see again really badly. And Columbus getting to host them is what I want to see specifically.
Ooh, I like that. And I know you guys are tight with Mason Espinosa. He's been one of the best guests on Inside the Walls. He's continued to show the career. And look, that was the storyline of the season. Like when he stepped away to coach, that was shaking up the entire league. Columbus was, right? Like Columbus was the favorite at that point. You could consider to win the league. He steps aside. He is now back. I don't want to call it underrated because it's just been one game, but there's a weird feeling of Columbus is danger. Is it mystery? It's the hardest team to describe. So it feels as if from my end, again, I'm here in upstate New York, that Albany is the favorite and it could be the top seed. But this Mason Espinosa storyline in Columbus is intriguing. All the adjectives you want to describe what's going on there with the Lions.
Yes. I mean, Mason Espinosa's return, I think, just it flips the league's standings here and the playoff aspirations for teams on its head. And really, I mean, the beginning of the year, it was quite the storyline. Mason's going off. He still, by the way, is hired on as the offensive coordinator for DePaul University over here in Greencastle, Indiana, nearby where I live in Indianapolis. And so he's out there doing that position. I guess they found time to work a schedule, and now he's getting to play again. And so, okay, you have, an NAL MVP quarterback coming back for a team that defensively has been the best, arguably, in the league. They still have the best point. They still have held teams to the least amount of points on average per contest. There's been times that I think offensively they could really have a better record if they had a quarterback and not had to flip the quarterback situation on the fly with Darren Daniels to start the year. And then, of course, they've gone from Daniel Southwick. Daniel Smith had some solid starts, but if Mason's back and he was on the roster this whole time, why not take him back and get him acclimated and go run for a championship for the Lions? And I think defensively, the Lions are what scare me the most for any team that's facing them in these playoffs. If you add Mason in, who can stabilize the offense and put it up to a level where it can take on any one of these other three playoff teams on the fly, that defense is what really, really freaks me out for anyone that has to go against the Lions. Because I'll be honest, Dame Daniels and their crew out there, and he's playing out there by the way too. So that's even fun, more amazing to me. I would really want to be sure that if I got Columbus, my guys understand that you have to come with an aggressive nature, and you gotta beat them at the line. You gotta play some rough ball because these guys do stop you at the line. These guys get aggressive. These guys slow teams down. Columbus is definitely one that I am afraid of for anyone that plays, because now all three phases, arguably, or at least the two that matter the most this year compared to what the ball's going on with the third, they're really scary to me.
7 o'clock kickoff set inside MVP Arena. Albany Empire hosts the San Antonio Gunslingers. Albany wins with the top seed overall in the upcoming NAL playoffs. Could Empire fans be nervous early in this game? Could the Gunslingers close out the season with a victory? What should Empire fans know about this Gunslinger team the first time this franchise has stepped foot in the capital region of New York tonight?
San Antonio has been also an example of a team that has evolved quite a bit since their first iteration. When they got Robert Kent in early in the year, they had to get him acclimated in there, and they had to get a few more pieces around him. Phil Barnett, former Empire receiver himself, coming back to the Gunslingers has been a massive boost for them because of the fact that, their own talent, Khalil Rashad, who has been on the roster since the beginning, really has been a star since the beginning of the season, he gets to be opened up on the other side. So the fact that you have Robert Kent getting now 2 weapons, you can throw to either one. Defenses have to be accommodating for either one of these guys on that side of the field. And defensively, the Gunslingers have gotten a lot better this year. Someone I would be watching out for, especially today with Sam Castronova. If you watch last week, remember, Arvell Nelson's also a mobile QB. They did a really good job slowing him down, getting some sacks, getting him in a tizzy a little bit in the backfield. Justin Alexander feasted last week on the Jacksonville Sharks. I would think if I'm Coach Tom Manas, I would be focusing, okay, we need to give as little pressure as possible for Sam. And honestly, we need to find a way to somehow get one of these 2-star receivers jammed at the line or slow them down to where you can't get them behind you too much. Because I'll tell you, if San Antonio plays a clean game, this is going to be a shootout really quick. Because the Gunslingers, when they're on their A game, they can take on any team in the NAL. Thing is, they evolved a lot. They started 0-5, but that 0-5 start, it does not reflect what this Gunslingers team is right now. And I would be, with nothing to lose now, I'd be a little worried.
By the way, that first win for San Antonio against Albany in Texas earlier this season. Zach Keilman, make sure to give him a follow on social media. Make sure to download, subscribe, rate, review, just like no credentials required. Another podcast friend for Inside the Walls podcast. Their playoff coverage starts next week. Zach, appreciate the time. I'm sure your phone, your DMs, something's going to light up again here come playoff time. Thank you for doing this on short notice and keep up the great work as always.
Much appreciated. You keep the good work as well. Wish you the best for the Empire as well as the rest of the NAL. It's going to be a fun playoffs, guys. If for those listening in, whether you're an Empire fan or not, you should be excited for the 4 teams are in because there's going to be fireworks.
There he goes. Our guy, Zach, man, appreciate you. We are just a few hours away from kickoff. Don't forget, whether it's San Antonio games in the future next season, Columbus, other playoff games, Albany Empire games, SPAC, concerts, Syracuse Orange games, SeatGeek.com is your place. This summer, this fall, if you want tickets, how about any ticket purchase over $50? You get $20 off your order by using the promo code GOZ, G-O-Z. You're buying tickets to the summer and fall. Use SeatGeek.com, your place. Sport events, concerts, and more. SeatGeek.com is the place. First purchase over $50, $20 off your order when you use the promo code GOZ. That's G-O-Z. Catch on the broadcast 7 o'clock. This has been the Albany Empire pregame show. Kickoff set for 7 o'clock inside the MVP Arena. If you want to get tickets, head over to the Albany Empire box office or head over to albanyempirenal.com. Catch you in a little bit.